Are you looking for a better way to play player props or daily fantasy sports? Well, look no further than Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the leading over-under daily fantasy game. Why? Because it's so easy to use and win. You can make your picks in under 30 seconds and win up to 10 times your money in one day. Right now, we have a special offer for our viewers and listeners of the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. All you got to do is sign up now and use the promo code BACKPACK. Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. That's right. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So, join the over 150,000 others who found a better way to play and download the Prize Picks app today. Hard to Tell podcast, episode 223. Dexter Henry, Brian Fonseca here.
Stay strong, Greg. Our boy Greg just got hacked on Instagram. I thought I'd mention that at the top of the show.
Yeah, I hit him up earlier about that. He's
just trying to get his account back. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, a lot of people I know getting hacked these days, man. Like out here just getting hacked. Like luckily I've been able to survive that in all my social media accounts. But anyway, Brian, how are you doing? This episode is, I think, going to be exciting for you. You know why?
Sir.
You know why? Because we're talking about violence.
Yes, sir.
For the whole episode. And I'm actually not even sure if our guest understands how much Brian loves violence. But
sanctioned violence.
Sanctioned violence.
I don't endorse like stupid testosterone shit like war or anything like that. I don't think we need that. But look, sanctioned violence or within reason. I feel like I'm getting a little echo there. Sanctioned violence and within reason, you know, and it's NBA playoff time. We're not going to get into too much NBA playoff stuff today because, frankly, we've been doing that on a lot of other platforms.
A lot of other pods, yep.
But look, man, all I'm going to say is I'm very excited about both the show and the guest that we have today.
Yes, definitely excited about this guest. Been a long time coming. She does a lot of work with Brian on FanDuel, and they talk about sanctioned violence. Our guest today, I'm not going to mess up her last name because I practiced it before we came on here. Brian is looking at me like I'm going to mess it up. She's from north of the border. She does work for FanDuel, contributing, talking about that sanctioned violence. Also on TSN, her name is Shantelle Chand. She is with us. Hey. Shantelle, did I get that right?
Yeah, you got that right. You nailed that one. I don't know what names you were getting wrong before, but you killed that.
Yo, not many. But like,
not many. You know, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Like
since he intros the show because he's more professional than I am, I let him go out and try to get that right. Well, I could just sit back here and just sort of mess up the show from the background.
He did give you some game before, right? So you were like coaching. You were coaching that part.
Yeah, he put me on game before, so that was good. Because he could have let me just go out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, could have just been hanging out there. But we did fine. Shantelle, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm ready to talk about some violence because I do enjoy it as well. Sanctioned violence, that is.
Yes.
Okay, so I before we get into stuff, I got a question for both of y'all. Why y'all love violence so much? Like, I kind of know with Brian, but Shantelle, like, what drew you into the sanctioned violence? And you're like, ooh, I like this. I want to talk about it.
Wait, hold on. What is Brian's story? Because he likes extreme violence. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm glad you know, right? Okay, but hold on. I'm gonna answer your question. I'm not gonna avoid, but that brings me to another thing. You said extreme violence. I just want to know, like, where do you draw the line of your violence? Like, is there a place where you're like,
oh, I have a line too.
Much? Oh, you do?
Yeah. Okay, so Dexter, you know that I like wrestling. You know that I like wrestling. All right. So my line would be like the super hardcore death match. Fucking, GCW's doing this now. I think XPW has some experience doing this. Like when it's like super bloody for no fucking reason. Like ECW is kind of like my line. Okay. And even some of the shit that they would do back in the day, though I was very young, it'd be like, all right. Okay. But like when it's super like just deathmatch bullshit in the middle of a backyard or whatever, like I'm not for that at this point.
But Shantelle says you like extreme violence, right? That tells me Shantelle doesn't.
I just meant every type of violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, like Brian, do you used to watch like those fight videos on YouTube?
Oh, come on. Like,
yes, that is him.
You know,
okay, that's extreme violence. That's extreme violence.
I love Narcos. I love The Wire. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But like, I won't lie. There's this other series I want to check out. I think it's called Somos on Netflix. And like, I didn't realize how prepared I needed to be for that. So like, spoiler alert for people who, I don't know, who fucking haven't watched Somos that want to see it. But in the first episodes, very early, somebody gets shot in the head. And I wasn't prepared for that. I was just going to get a workout in or whatever. And sometimes I like watching fights when I work out. You would imagine
I'm
the
sure you
wonders
do.
that it
I'm
does.
sure you do.
But when I saw that, I was like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. I had to change course and watch like, Rami or some shit. This was a long time ago.
So Shantelle, I will say this. I love boxing. I've never been able to get into the MMA. That just has not been my thing. I just can't. It's just, it's like, okay, I just can't really get into it. But Brian, I feel like, yes, you're right with Brian. Any form of violence, street fights, whatever, at a basketball court, hockey, he's going to watch it. Brian has texted me at times telling me he has just went through a little binge of whatever fights from the 90s in basketball.
Yo, that's one of my favorite things to do.
Yes.
Yo, that's one of my favorite things to do. I forget what fight it was. I think it was T-Mac and Bobby Jackson. That was a good one. Go back and watch that one on YouTube. That was a solid fight. I love that fight. I also love the Kobe and Reggie one. That one's a good one to go to.
That's a good one. I actually remember that, but I've never gone back to watch it.
Ray Allen and Keon dueling, people forget, ended up in like the first row of a game.
Yeah.
I feel like one of my favorite things to watch fights. I'm like, I've been missing out. Maybe I need
Aaron Aflalo, I think it was Aaron Aflalo, slapped the shit out of, I think it was Nemanja Bjelica on the back of his head or whatever the case may be. Like, I love looking those up and then immediately Googling after in a separate tab their names just to see if they got suspended for it or got fined or whatever the case may be.
Back in the day, those NBA fights, man.
I wish that in 2K my player could get into fights.
I would draw every time.
Yeah.
I would draw every damn. If you could do that, they should have that option in 2K.
I would have my backup point guard just like try to fight Trae Young, try to go at Joel Embiid.
Why Trae Young? Why Trae Young? Why you like to go Trae Young?
Go after the stars, yo. You want some of this? Like, let's go. Like, come on.
Man.
That's a missed opportunity for 2K. Like, we should have kerfuffles and shit in video games.
I'm sorry, Shantelle. I had a lot of questions. But
wait, hold on. Before we get into that, you know what game was actually really dope? Remember Def Jam Fight for NY?
I do remember Def Jam Fight for NY. Yes.
That was actually a good video game. I remember like Fat Joe was really tough to beat, and like Snoop was like literally the boss at the end. That was a good game. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah. No, that definitely was a good one.
Like I'm the guy who creates like a player in NHL, and you already know I'm an enforcer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm creating a player, and I'm an enforcer. I always make sure that they're small too, like Ty Domi or some shit. They'll be like 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, it has to be. You got to represent for the short people.
It's annoying though because I'm always leading the league in penalty minutes and shit, and then the coach is like moving me to the third line, and that shit is annoying. But
like, you don't want to be a third line player, man.
Nobody. You don't want to be that.
When you're the enforcer, like, kind of is what it is.
You gotta be the best. But Shatelle, we thank you for joining us here. This should be a fun one because you guys already have shown me your love of extreme violence, or Brian at least his love of extreme violence. So thank you. But Shatelle, every time we get somebody on here who's a fellow sports journalist or does kind of what we do, we like for them to talk about what was your career path? Like, how did you get into this? How did you get to the point where you actually do videos with this guy, Brian Fonseca, and talk about violence? And somewhat like me, seem to not be annoyed by him, which is a skill in itself.
Man, I just love talking to other fight fans. Like, that's always fun, right? That's always something that you can like vibe with someone with. But the way I started was back in the day when I was a kid growing up in Vancouver, we wouldn't get all of the NBA games here up in Canada. So I'd have to like wake up at like 7 a.m. and I would watch NBA Inside Stuff with like Ahmad Rashad and Summer Sanders. And that was actually the reason why I wanted to get into sports. And then at 9 o'clock, they'd play either the Knicks or the Bulls. And that's why I'm a crazy Knicks fan since I was a kid, which is funny because I get clowned on a lot about that up here in Canada. But that's kind of what was like the seed for me to get into the business. And then I ended up going to school for it, finished my degree in broadcast journalism. And then after that, I ended up getting a job in Vancouver, but I was doing like traffic for like 5 years and I hated it. But it was a way to keep my foot in the door, and I didn't have to move to like a small town in Canada. I wasn't down to do that. It's cold in the rest of Canada. So I did that, and then I ended up getting a job. While I was doing traffic, I was like, I can't talk about another stall. Like, I just can't do this. It's like not for me. Or an accident. Like, I just was not down for that. And I ended up like making demos, and I started sending them out. And then the Blue Jays minor league team caught wind of it, and they gave me a job as like their field reporter on television. And from there, I ended up getting a job with TSN Radio, had my own show on there, did a bunch of like sports update reports and all that stuff. And then from there, I ended up transitioning into TV and whatnot. So that's kind of how it all started, though.
Nice. That's really good. So, Brian, that was great by Shantelle. She did a lot of stuff. But what was the most important thing I heard there from Shantelle? Please, come on. You have to be paying attention. The most important thing I heard there from Shantelle that I did not know about her, Shantelle, I really liked you. Love your work. But I just liked you a whole lot more. Went from like here to like here. You can't even see it on the camera now. You are also a Knicks fan like me.
Hell yes.
You have been suffering like me.
You have no idea. You have no idea. I get clowned.
Oh, he does.
Oh,
he does.
I have to talk to you about how even in New York, people would clown me during my middle school days for being a Knicks. Yeah, it was rough. Okay, Shantelle, I told you, you just went from here to here. Like,
thanks,
we
man.
here.
I knew we had this like connection, you know. And I was you're not a Knicks fan, Brian? Like, are you like still a fan? Like, you're not a Brooklyn fan, right?
I'm not a Knicks hater. Like, I'm actually generally a Knicks optimist. But like, I'm not somebody who like I don't give a fuck if they win or lose. You know, like that's just kind of where I'm at with it. Dex knows I really like RJ Barrett. And I think organizationally they're in a better place now than when I grew up, because I remember in video games, like I liked using the Knicks in video games back in the day, except when they had like Jerome James and all that shit. But yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not really a Knicks fan.
No, he's not like us at all whatsoever. I grew up pretty much a diehard Knicks fan. I've been long suffering. Shantelle, you know the pain. You know the pain, sis. You know.
I watch preseason games, man. Like, come on. Like,
the only team I still really root for is the Mets.
Okay. You're a Knicks fan in Canada, in Western Canada. Should we add? It's a Knicks fan in Vancouver. So,
yeah, you know, and that's why I get on the Raptor fans so much, right? Because they're just like bandwagoners, right? They don't know. I mean, yeah, they do. Like, they've been through pain, but they don't know what it's like to be a Knicks fan. You know?
That's right. So, you let them know.
Exactly.
And you were you? I asked you this before, but you weren't mad about like the Grizzlies moving over from Vancouver to Memphis.
I was. I'm still mad about it. Like every time I watch Memphis play. And even back in the day, remember when there used to be like those Memphis OKC matchups? I always think like that could have been Vancouver and Seattle. So yeah, I was like a kid though when they left, but I was still devastated. Sharif's like obviously my favorite Grizzly of all time. So yeah, I was pretty upset about it.
Yeah, it's always been made to sound like most people didn't care in Vancouver about the Grizzlies, and you know there wouldn't be that much passion about it. But you're right, that could have been Vancouver, Seattle. That could have been a nice Pacific Northwest battle there. Instead, we have OKC and Memphis.
Yeah, Seattle should have a team for sure. Like I think Vegas will probably get one pretty soon, but I think like it's weird that Seattle doesn't have a team. That's a great sports town.
I was just talking with somebody about this, and I feel like I was talking to somebody from Seattle about this, and it's like if they're going to do Vegas and expand, it only makes sense to do two, and you should bring Seattle. And then I also would like them to move Memphis and possibly New Orleans and Minnesota to the Eastern Conference, which is what I would like. Vegas and Seattle. Makes sense.
You know what you know what I want to say? They don't even have Grizzlies in Memphis. Like, come on, man. Just bring the Grizzlies back to
Vancouver. Yo, Shantelle, I'm so with this. You cannot have things in your team name that have nothing to do with where you're from, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't stand. I love jazz. Can't stand the jazz in Utah. Ain't nothing about the jazz in Utah. Trust me. If you've been to Utah, ain't nothing about like jazz in Utah. Okay, like come on. You know,
exactly.
We don't need that.
Yeah, but move Memphis and New Orleans to the Eastern Conference where they belong, and that'll be what 17. So you're gonna have to figure something else out. Honestly, the Bulls should probably be in the Western Conference, but whatever. And you know, if they're gonna expand, I know they're not going to, but like geographically, it would make sense. But whatever, I don't care about that part. All I'm gonna say is that like I would like to see a team in Seattle again, and the other team you already know is gotta be Mexico or Puerto Rico. I don't give a fuck. All right, you gotta give us a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, Mexico City's kind of far, but like, yo,
ain't nobody trying to do that.
They were talking about Puerto Rico though at one point. Like, I think Puerto Rico was mentioned,
my thing.
Right?
Now that we have Shantelle on, I can say this. they like and I wrote about this for Latino Rebels in a feature like months ago. All these sports leagues have teams in Canada. These leagues that are rooted in America have teams in Canada. Why not fucking Mexico or Puerto Rico for that matter?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean,
there's been talk about the NFL in Mexico City, but I could see if the NBA was to expand, like, why not Puerto Rico, right? Like, I don't know. It's been talked about. That'd be kind of cool. But I still think Vancouver needs a team. We could have one now. We could support one now for sure. You know why it didn't work? Because Stu Jackson made the worst picks ever. Who the hell drafts Big Country Reeves?
Big Country Reeves.
And come on, like, don't even get me started on how bad those draft picks were for the Vancouver Grizzlies. They didn't give us a chance at all. But right now, like, we could definitely have a basketball team. So I'm hoping we get one maybe down the line. You never know.
Last thing I'll say on expansion, because I think Shantelle makes a great point about that too, is that how much talent that you have if you're going to start a franchise in a new market matters. Because if you don't have players that people want to come and see, they're not going to come out and see that. And to be honest, when I think about those early Grizzlies teams like Greg Anthony, Brian Country Reeves, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, you wasn't going to get anybody to be excited. At least the Raptors, when they started, they had like David Stoudemire on the team and
Marcus Camby,
right?
Vince Carter.
They had a couple years later, Vince Carter, right?
You know what's wild is like Vince doesn't get the props he deserves for like what he did in Toronto because the way he left. Because a lot of the Toronto fans are like all like they're still mad about some stuff that happened years ago. But like if it wasn't for Vince, like the Raptors wouldn't even be like he's the foundation of that. He built that. You know what I mean? Like people were checking for Raptors games because of Vince. So they definitely got to give him more credit because they wanna retire Kyle Lowry's jersey. And I'm like, okay, but I mean Vince's jersey should be retired.
I think there's a fair argument. I think there's a fair argument to that. Like, definitely a fair argument to that.
I'm looking at their draft picks now too. I'm looking at their draft picks now too, and Shantelle, you have.
Oh my God, we could have had Kobe. We could have had Steve
Sharif
Nash.
Abdul-Rahim was a good one, but then you have like Antonio Daniels went 4th overall, who's a good broadcaster now, but like 4th overall pick.
Yeah.
Mike Bibby, I think he was eventually traded for White Chocolate, who he had highlights, but he was inefficient as fuck. Steve Francis didn't even want to go there. Stromile Swift was a bust.
We still drafted Steve Francis. Like, why would you draft him? You know, remember he had that commercial about Canadian bacon and everything?
Yep, I remember that.
I don't remember that.
Crazy. You got to go on YouTube. Go watch
YouTube that. I've seen this before.
Really?
I've seen it.
I like Canadian bacon.
That's how much of an NBA nut I am, but I've actually seen that before. Yes.
That's classic stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. We had bad draft picks. And it's all Stu Jackson. Like, I'm telling you, like, he put that team into the ground.
Yeah, and the narrative gets put out there that Vancouver was a market that couldn't support the NBA. But I'm in agreement with Shantelle where it's like if you make good picks and you have exciting young team, this can work. I mean, shit, it's working. It's worked in OKC.
Yeah,
they made some great picks. You know what I'm saying?
And every time the Raptors come out here, like it's sold out because they always play like a preseason game, and it's preseason, so the players they're like barely playing. That sells out like quick. So we definitely could like have a basketball team here now, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But
I don't think it'll happen anytime soon either. All right, but could we talk? We want to before we get into the violence, the sanctioned violence, sports rivalries in Canada, right? Like, are they as heated as we see here in the States, Shantelle? Especially with the hockey. We know it's crazy hockey up there north of the border. But how are the sports rivalries in Canada? And do you get into it yourself?
Honestly, with the hockey stuff, like it's definitely a rivalry, especially like if it's like Toronto and the Habs, like they hate each other. I'm out in Vancouver on the West Coast, so like I don't like the Flames or the Oilers, and people go pretty hard for their teams. But those are the rivalries, and it can get pretty crazy. Not so much for like obviously we have one basketball team, and that's the Raptors in Canada. And a lot of people, if you're not from Toronto or like a diehard Raps fan, you're not going to be a Raptors fan. Like personally, like I could care less about the Raptors. And then number 2 is like the one team that Canada really rides for is the Toronto Blue Jays. I would probably say, so there's a lot of Jays fans that like hate the Yankees, hate the Red Sox and stuff like that. But I would say hockey, we take that personally. So right now there's 3 Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And if you're in Canada and your team isn't in it, you're rooting for all those teams to lose.
Damn, that's
we don't want anyone to win it. Yeah, unless it's our team.
To win it. Are you a hockey fan? Do you have a hockey team that you support?
Yeah, I'm like a Vancouver Canucks fan. So
you're a Canucks fan. Okay.
Yeah, out here in
Did
Vancouver.
you not appreciate when The Rock cut a promo in Vancouver and called you all mother canuckers?
No, I didn't mind. It was The Rock, man. It was The Rock, man. I didn't mind. The Rock's always out here in Vancouver, like doing movies and stuff. So yeah.
Backpack Broadcasting continues to bring you the best original sports content, but now you can get more of the content you love. For as little as $3 a month, you can get access to bonus content, including behind-the-scenes footage and interviews from the Sports Walk, Sideline Stories, or the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. All this exclusive content comes via Patreon. There are tiered levels of patronage, and each Backpack Broadcasting patron receives exclusive perks. Your support helps Backpack Broadcasting create more of the original content that you love. Visit Backpack Broadcasting's Patreon page and become a patron today. We're going to get into the sanctioned violence. This is going to have...
Here we fucking go. All right,
Brian,
Shantelle.
Excited. Brian is going to throw some fights. Brian, take it away. This is Brian's expertise. He's going to take it away.
So here's what we have on, because you're going to pick the direction we go on. There's a lot of shit on the board. You could also go off the board if you really, really want to, but I think there's a lot of stuff on the board that you're going to want to get at. So what should we get into first? We have Canelo Alvarez being outboxed by Dmitry Bivol, which happened this past week, which was shocking to a lot of people. We have possible rematch between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, and, well, that fight just happened. Should we get Canelo and Triple G for the third fucking time, or something else? Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence, still talking, still in the works, we hope so. Jermell Charlo versus Brian Castaño, which is this weekend. And then we have a couple UFC things. Rose Namajunas lays an egg versus Carla Esparza, which I'm still fucking mad about because I bet on that.
Yeah.
What's next for Charles Oliveira after dominating Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler kicking the shit out of Tony Ferguson? So where are we starting?
Oh, that's all fire. Let's start with Canelo and Bivol because I think that's like the most shocking thing that happened this weekend, right? That's crazy. And we talked a little bit about the scorecards, I think, before we got on air. 115 to 113, like what fight were they watching? Dmitry Bivol, he dominated the entire fight. I think I gave Canelo like maybe 3 rounds if I was being a little bit generous.
9-3 at best, Shantelle. 9-3 at best. Yeah.
That's 117, 111. And the thing is too, like, Dmitry Bivol, like a lot of people didn't know about him prior to this, but he's Russian, so it's a little like we gotta, we kind of gotta tiptoe around that part of it. He wasn't allowed to come out with the flag or have his national anthem sung before the fight because he is Russian and everything going on out there, which we've talked about. But yeah, best light heavyweight in the world right now, probably 20-0, 11 knockouts, and he used his range and his jab to really outbox Canelo Alvarez. Shantelle, like, did this surprise you? Because like I was somebody who wasn't underestimating Bivol, but I felt like I was in hindsight because I knew he was good, but I didn't see this coming.
No, you talked about it, man. Like he was controlling the distance, and Canelo, I've never seen him that frustrated before. Dmitry Bivol was throwing like jabs, triple jabs, and he was just using his jab to control that fight and the distance. And Canelo, like when he had him on the ropes, like when have we ever seen Canelo that frustrated before? And I think that because he was able to control the distance so well, that he dominated that fight. And his footwork was looking pretty good. I've never seen Canelo be that frustrated before ever. And it kind of just brings up the question, like, was, 175 way too much for Canelo? Because Canelo did get some good shots and some combos off on him, but it didn't sting him at all. So when you think about the power, was the power at 175 just not a factor for Bivol? So that was my one thing, because I'm like, man, like maybe he got to go back down to 168 and, fight Charlo and Benavidez, right? Maybe that's where he's best at. But there's a rematch clause. So I don't think the rematch goes any different, though.
Me neither. I don't think it does. And the thing is,
I feel the same way. Yeah, I don't think it goes any different.
Canelo sneakily is like 61 fights into his pro career at this point. Is somebody who turned pro in like 2005 or 2006 or something like that. He's 31. I think he's going to be 32 later this year. I don't think this goes differently if they have a rematch. I also just think that Bivol is just really good at light heavyweight, and Canelo should drop down. I don't want him to exercise that rematch clause because I don't really have a big interest to see this fight again. I think Canelo before benefited from like picking sort of the right light heavyweights to go at. And, Sergey Kovalev was somebody who I thought Canelo would have a tougher time with him, and he did early on, but then was able to knock him out later on in that fight. So, and Sergey Kovalev actually is fighting this weekend in a fight that I don't think a lot of people are going to watch. Shout out to Triller. But look, I think Dmitry Bivol is really good. And I think Canelo Alvarez, to me, the favorable judging is just something that annoys the shit out of me because 115, 113 doesn't make any sense. And Canelo, throughout the course of his career, has had favorable cards. We remember against Floyd Mayweather, that should have been a unanimous decision. And one judge had it 114, 114. I think that judge, wasn't even allowed to judge anymore after that or something along those lines. I'm forgetting who it was. Was it Adelaide Bird? I think it was Adelaide Bird.
Yeah.
Shantelle, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Adelaide Bird. The Miguel Cotto shit, I remember that fight was very close, and on the scorecards, it was not. And Miguel Cotto even walked out before they even announced the winner because he had heard it or something like that, or before an interview, and he was pissed off about that. Amir Khan was actually beating Canelo before Canelo knocked him out. And then obviously the Gennady Golovkin fights. The first one he lost. The second one, some argue he lost. I think maybe a draw is a little bit more fair. And I also thought he lost to Erislandy Lara. That's the other one that I'm like, I thought he lost that fight. So to me, Canelo has 4 losses now. Lara, Mayweather, this, and Gennady Golovkin the first time.
Well, I want to ask Shantelle this because you said, and I'm in agreement with you guys, I don't really care to see a rematch. And we know that there is the rematch clause. But do you think he'll take it? We will get the rematch? Because I think we're going to get it. Even though I think all 3 of us don't really want it, we're going to get it. And so I guess, is there any hope that you see Canelo boxing better in this one? Or is he going to humble his ass and say, I'm going to go back down to 168?
I have a feeling he's going to take that rematch clause because he wants to make history in 4 divisions and be, I think, only the 4th Mexican ever to win a title in 4 different divisions. So I think that's what he's trying to do. So I think there will be a rematch. And honestly, even Bivol defensively was really, really good. And you kind of saw when he was going to his high guard, his arm was all bruised up because Canelo did work on that arm. But like I said, his power wasn't really doing anything against Bivol. So I think we definitely see that. I really believe he should go down back to 168. I think that's where he does a lot of damage, and I want to get the fight against Charlo because there was talk about him fighting Charlo before, and that never happened. And then he can fight Benavidez and maybe an Andrade, and maybe we do get the Triple G trilogy, right? I know, Dex, when Brian mentioned the trilogy, you were not feeling it. Do you not want to see that trilogy?
I want to see it more than I want to see him fight Bivol again. I'll say that much, right? But I'm not too enamored about it. Triple G, where he's at in his career against Canelo, I'm not excited about it. Let's put it like that. I'm kind of lukewarm with it. I'd watch it though. Don't get me wrong. I'll watch it, and I'm definitely more excited than seeing him fight Bivol again because of all the reasons you brought up, Shantelle. I think that Canelo was just, I don't want to say overmatched. He was clearly outskilled. I saw the same thing. He's landing, but it was doing nothing. He had no impact on him, no effect whatsoever. And that's just not exciting. You know what I mean? And I have no reason to believe that Bivol won't do the same thing again. Very disciplined boxer, stuck with the game plan, was with it through and through. I think you would see that again. Canelo Triple G, yeah, I'd watch it, but I'm not super excited for it at all. So are you excited for it? Is that one you get excited for? I'm kind of meh.
Well, yeah, I agree with Brian, man. He lost the first one, and I thought the second one was a draw. If I thought if any one of those fights was a draw, it was definitely the second one. But I want to see it just because I actually am a huge Triple G fan. I know he's getting a little bit older, and in his last fight, he took some shots, got a little bit stung, but he was able to get the knockout victory. I still think it brings in a lot of dollars. So I want to see the Triple G trilogy just because I love to see those type of trilogies, and hopefully the judges get it right. But that's the thing, right? When does Canelo ever lose on the scorecards, especially in Vegas? It doesn't really happen. So Bivol shocked the world, and the judges tried to rob him in broad daylight, but they let the man that was supposed to win the fight win, and that's all that kind of matters. So, I'd rather see Canelo fight Charlo. That's the fight that I want to see.
Yeah, I agree. It's a better fight. And for you guys who are more aficionados in the combat sports than myself, we sometimes need these judges to explain themselves after this stuff, right? You can't have this 115, 113. I'm still salty about that. I'm like, what? How did you watch that fight and you're giving Canelo more than 3 rounds. Like, I just don't see it at all. And then we have, we never hear from these judges, but that's my beef. Is what it is.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
All right, Shantelle, where are we going next? Do you remember everything, or do I have to read everything again?
No, you got to read it out. I think you mentioned Bud and Spence.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind talking about that.
Okay,
Because like we just talked about scorecards and how the judges like Canelo. The judges also really like Errol Spence on the scorecards. You know what I'm saying? Like he does like the way that he boxes, he's so skilled that when it comes to the judges, like they love Spence and they're always giving him the decision. Actually, the one decision that I want to talk about is the one against Sean Porter, because I think that one was a draw. They let Spence win that fight, but Sean Porter and Errol Spence, that to me was a draw. And then we saw what Bud Crawford did to Sean Porter, and that was a pretty good stoppage. So I just wanted to mention that because I think if Bud and Spence do end up fighting, obviously that's a blockbuster fight. That's the fight that everyone, I think boxing fans, even casual boxing fans, would be down to see. That one's going to bring a lot of eyes to the sport. So hopefully we get it. I think the biggest thing, though, is like they're going to say that Spence is the A side. He's got 3 belts. Bud's got 1. So is it going to be like a 60-40 split? I doubt Bud would take that. So we'll see what happens. I hope it's not like Mayweather-Pacquiao. That's what I don't want. I don't want to get this fight like years down the line. You know what I'm saying? I want it now. And in fact, like I wanted it 2 years ago. So the fact that I had to wait 2 years to say this, like that gets me mad. But as boxing fans, like we might not get that fight.
That's that's always my problem with the sport, Shantelle. Always my problem. We never get the fights that we need when we need them. And that's a big problem. Go ahead, Brian.
With Terence Crawford, at least, the reason why I think we'll get this year is because he left Top Rank. And I feel like that was the major obstacle. But apparently they're still talking shit to each other, and we don't actually know if this fight is going to go down. What I want to point out is that to me, even before Canelo lost this, Dexter knows it, even before Canelo lost to Dmitry Bivol, I had Terence Crawford as the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. I think that what he's done throughout his career, like I have been thinking about this fight for a while and how it would match up. There was a time where I thought, all right, maybe Errol Spence is a little too big. I don't think the accident sort of swayed my thinking a little bit, but I think with Terence Crawford, he would be smart, patient, counterpunching. I think he would try to, exchange a little bit too much at times, but I think ultimately he would fight the smarter fight and be able to find the holes in Errol Spence's game in order to win that fight. I don't think it'd be a knockout, but I tend to lean, especially as I get older and I see the value in defense and counterpunching more and more, from somebody who grew up watching fucking Felix Trinidad lose to Bernard Hopkins and crying about it at 7 years old. I think that Terence Crawford, who's great, southpaw, orthodox, doesn't matter. I think that if this fight does happen, that I do think it'll happen later this year, I think Terence Crawford would win this fight.
This is the fight I'm excited for in boxing. I'm with you on this, Shantelle. I'm really excited. I hope it happens this year. We'll see. I hope so. I'm not going to get excited. I'm excited for it, but I'm not getting excited for it, if that makes sense. We'll see. All right.
What's next on the agenda, Shantelle? We have what's left. We have Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. We have already done Canelo Triple G and Canelo Bivol. So those are out. Terence Crawford, Errol Spence is out. So we have Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Jermell Charlo versus Brian Castaño. Anything from UFC 274 is on the table, or just some other shit.
Well, let's talk about another robbery, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, because I had Serrano winning that bout, man. Like, that to me was crazy. I think, like, near the end of that bout, Serrano kind of took her foot off the gas, but I still had her winning, actually. So kind of disappointing to see her lose it in New York. But Katie Taylor, like, she does have the power, and she was able to kind of get back in that fight, but I still had it 6-4. Like, that's how I had it scored, and I had Serrano winning.
I had it very similar. So if I can remember correctly, I had Katie Taylor winning rounds 2, 7, 8, and 9. That was it. I had Amanda Serrano winning 1, 3, 4, 5, but I had that as a 10-8 round because Katie Taylor was basically out on her feet a couple different times, and Serrano absolutely blitzed her. I think she outlanded her 44-14 in that round, which doesn't sound like a lot until you remember 2-minute rounds. Which should be 3. That's another story for another day. Yeah. And I thought Amanda Serrano finished strong. So I actually had a 96-93 for Amanda Serrano. but everybody in Ireland on Twitter is like, oh, you know, because they think they're fucking sophisticated boxing fans because their girl won and she's a counterpuncher. And it's like, no, it's not that we like offense. It's that Amanda Serrano fucked her up for a lot of this fight. And Katie Taylor's getting rewarded, even though she was backing up and getting pinged in her face the entire time. And you saw how she looked after the fight. I thought it was a great fight. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of who should have won, I had a feeling that Katie Taylor would get it because I just feel like some shit is always in the air when Eddie Hearn's around. And I had a feeling that his woman was going to take this fight, especially because Jake Paul is on the other side. So I think there's some shit going on there, even though it was in Madison Square Garden. I don't want to see this fight take place in Ireland. I do want to see it again, but I don't want to see it in Ireland. Absolutely not. Because if Amanda
they should
Serrano
do it in Vegas. They should.
Right,
Yeah, they should do it in Vegas. Where I'm going.
If Amanda Serrano can't get a rightful decision in New York City, I do not want to see this shit in Ireland. I want to see this in Vegas, or I want to see this maybe in Carson, California, because exciting fights always go on in Carson, California.
Do you guys think
outside venue, like the venue's sick in Carson? I would be down for that.
Yes, do you guys think the rematch? Do you guys think the rematch will happen? It feels like it makes a lot of sense because of how it obviously sold out in MSG. All the talk that was around it. Do you guys think the rematch will actually happen?
Yeah. So this is interesting because, like, look, women's boxing purses have been shit for a long time, but Katie Taylor has been getting $1 million purses for a while. Amanda Serrano finally got hers. Amanda Serrano was getting like 4 or 5 figures years ago, and she got a huge payday. So I think there's an immense amount of money to get in the rematch just from a promotional standpoint, because I feel like everybody involved saw how big of a deal this was. Every single outlet, etc., like it was getting coverage in a lot of different places. If they do it again, especially if this fight wins fight of the year, assuming that this fight, the rematch doesn't happen again before the end of the year. If this fight wins fight of the year, they should absolutely do it again. Yes, I do think that it's interesting to note if it does happen again, there's been some talk, some rumors about maybe instead of, because for people who don't know, men's championships in boxing, championship fights are typically 12 rounds for 3 minutes each, women 10 rounds for 2 minutes each. And there's talk about making this 3-minute rounds. I'm not sure if it's going to be 12 rounds instead of 10, whatever the case may be. I would like to see it with 3-minute rounds though, because I'm not even sure who that benefits more.
Yeah. Shantelle, you see this rematch going down too?
Yeah, I see it going down. I think just for women's boxing, like the spectacle that it was, even though it took like Katie Taylor to get to the ring, like it took her like 10 damn minutes, but that's besides the fact. But the spectacle of it was dope. Like I absolutely loved it. I'm still surprised that Amanda Serrano lost in New York, but the fact that I think like the viewership was up, so there's a way that they can sell this fight, and in boxing, that's what they want to do. They want to sell it, and Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor did a really, really good job. And that night, I think there was 2 fights on, but I think this was the bigger one in my opinion. And I think it kind of puts women's boxing on a different platform. So I think we do get a second one, but where is it going to be? And I agree with Brian. Like, I don't want it to be in New York. If she couldn't get that decision in New York in the first place, and definitely don't want it in Ireland. And also that kind of messes up with the time, right? When it's like overseas, then it's like the timing's going to be off. So I would love to see it in Vegas actually, because I think those ladies deserve the spotlight. And if we get the second one and Amanda Serrano wins, like, do we get a trilogy? Who knows? I think it could be dope. But I think there's some good fights in women's boxing to make, like Alicia Baumgardner and Michaela Mayer, I think could be a really good one too.
Yeah, I'm excited for this women's boxing. Now it's funny because I didn't watch the Serrano Taylor fight live, but Brian, I did go back and watch it, and I scored it the same as Shantelle. I had it 6-4, Amanda Serrano. With I'm forgetting what round was it the 5th?
Yes, the 5th round. She got busy.
Well, she got busy with her, and I had that as a 10-8 round too, Brian.
So you had the same score as me, because I had
pretty much had the same score as you.
6-4 with the 10-8 round.
Yeah, because I knew I didn't get to watch it due to having to be up early for work, but I did want to rewatch it before we did this podcast, and I was like, Brian kept saying to me, "Yo, she got robbed," and I was just like, "Yo, how'd they really give this to Katie Taylor?" I didn't really see it here. I was trying to even think if I could make sense of it, and I just was not coming to that conclusion, particularly after that 5th round. So, do I want to see a rematch? Absolutely. Do I want to see it in Ireland?
No.
Nah.
I think you could potentially make, and I think Amanda Serrano takes the rematch. I think you could potentially make this a trilogy too. Like that's the other thing.
Yeah,
and you want to talk about like women's boxing really growing or whatever. Like I think that this being a trilogy is something that would make a lot of sense too. But
makes a lot of sense.
First, you got to make the second fight, and Amanda Serrano would have to win that for people to want to see the third fight.
Definitely.
Exactly.
For
There's some
sure.
good matches to be made in women's boxing for sure. We've seen Clarissa Shields just talking a lot on Twitter. I love it. I'm a big Clarissa Shields fan, so I can't wait till she fights next.
There we go. All right, where are we going next?
Where are we going next?
Should we go Charlo and Castaño?
Yes, because mainly because there's a lot going on in terms of like the ramifications of who wins, as we talked about earlier, Shantelle. Just for people who don't know, and this surprised me, like just thinking about it again because I had forgotten. Because look, in boxing, and this is not something that I typically complain about because, like, you know, I actually get it, but like I also don't think that we don't need 5 fucking titles for every weight class plus the Ring Magazine title, and then the WBA having a super title, a regular title, and then an interim title, and then you have the WBC having a fucking diamond title, whatever the case may be. The point is that Jermell Charlo has a WBC, WBA, super, IBF, and WBO title, so he's an undisputed champion at 154. But he had a draw with Brian Carlos Castaño last time they fought, Shantelle. And I'm going to toss this to you because this fight was 10 months ago. It was a draw. Some people think Charlo lost, and they're having a rematch this weekend for all those belts.
Yeah, people forget that Brian Castaño, I think a lot of people didn't know about him, but actually in the amateur ranks, he has a win against Errol Spence, and Spence didn't lose a lot in the amateur ranks. So that's something to think about. But in this first fight, like we saw Castaño, he likes to get in on the inside and he likes to let his hands go. He's a come forward guy, and he put pressure on Charlo in that fight, and he was cutting off the ring really, really well. And for most of the fight, I thought Castaño was winning, and then Charlo turned it up in the later rounds, and that's why it ended up being a draw. But I think all around, Charlo is the better boxer. He's got ridiculous power. You know, when he's throwing jabs, he's got power in them. He's got that nasty uppercut that we didn't see a lot in that fight. He's got really good footwork. And I think that he's going to make the adjustments for this fight. I think it's going to be really close, though, and it could go either way. But this is for Undisputed King at 154. And so this is a huge fight this weekend. It's the second one. I think it's going to be a very, very close fight. I do have Charlo edging it out, though, and winning the decision. But I think Charlo is going to be making the adjustments from last fight, because what we saw Castaño do and how he was cutting off the ring, it was giving Charlo some major problems.
Yeah. And in 2019, I remember this was the first time I saw Castaño live because he came out here to Barclays Center. He fought Erislandy Lara to a draw, which I am somebody who holds Lara in high regard because I think that he's been robbed against Canelo Alvarez. He obviously got robbed against Paul Williams. I think he should be at a different place in his career than he is. And he actually has a fight coming up, I believe, on the Gervonta Davis undercard. So I think he's coming back to Barclays Center again. But I think that Castaño could win this fight. I'm just not sure because, like, we've seen Charlo. We saw it against Josh Jackson, as we mentioned earlier, like before we got started. Like, he's been down on cards and has been able to come back, utilize his power in a way that's reflective of his brother Jermell, who people, you know, consider the more stronger fighter, and then be able to really like change a fight on a dime in a way that I don't know if Castaño is capable of. So that's sort of a wild card there for me. I think Charlo's really good. I also think that the implications for both Charlos, because Jermell Charlo has a fight coming up as well, where we just talked about Canelo and the possibilities there. Like, I would not mind seeing Canelo fight one of these guys next.
Yes.
So I would absolutely. That's who I want Canelo to fight next. If not, like the Triple G rematch, I'll watch it, but like, and I'll get it from a business standpoint. Like, it's going to make more money than him fighting Dmitry Andrade or against either Charlo brother, I suppose. But I still would rather see it from a boxing standpoint. Canelo fight one of those guys next. So if Jermell Charlo could get by Brian Castaño, which is not a given because Castaño is really good, then that'll potentially set something up in that field, hopefully, because both Charlos deserve big fights. And Brian Carlos Castaño, if he wins this, he deserves one too, because having a draw with Erislandy Lara and then being able to have a draw with Jermell Charlo and then potentially beating him, if he could do it and leave no doubt, he'll be on his way too, and he needs to because he's sneaky in his mid-30s already, early to mid-30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn, he's there already. All right, where are we going?
And also
next?
This weekend, I will mention Jaron Ennis on the undercard.
Yes,
that's the show.
Yes,
who I spoke to, and it'll be an interview with me and him coming out Thursday of this week. I spoke to him, really liked his energy in talking to him, and hopefully he'll be on this podcast soon. We're trying to make that happen, but I like his energy. I'm really intrigued to see what he can do, but he seems very focused for his opponent this weekend. I think he'll take care of business. So
yes, that dude
we'll
is.
I'm not He's the real deal.
Yeah, that dude is a, and I mean this in the best way possible. He's a motherfucker. Like for real.
Power both hands, looking vicious, but focused. I think he's focused on the opportunity to get to the next level. So I'm intrigued to see that with him. They definitely somebody people should watch this weekend for sure. Definitely for sure.
All right, Shantelle, we only have a couple things left on the board, so we may not get to all of it. But we basically have UFC 274. You can pick something from there, or we can go off the board, where we could just go on to something else and just stick with boxing.
So talk about your boy Jake Paul.
Oh no, we don't want to talk about Jake Paul. You know
I
what?
don't trust me. I don't.
I think we got to do a little bit of more violence. So I think we got to roll with UFC because what we saw with Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson was crazy. Like
Dexter,
it was
look
vicious.
up this knockout. Look up this knockout if you haven't seen
it. Okay. Who am I looking up?
Because Michael Chandler, because for people like Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson, it's a front kick knockout.
Okay, yeah.
I know you're gonna react to it because Dexter loves good knockouts, though he prefers them in boxing. He loves great knockouts, and this one was the knockout. Did he get performance of the night, Shatelle? I'm not even sure. Like, did Michael Chandler?
I think he did. Yeah, he did. It was crazy.
People out here saying that he's ended his career.
Well, Tony Ferguson has been on a downhill sort of.
Swing.
Yeah. Okay. Dexter saw the knockout.
Exactly how you just reacted. Like it was insane. And like Tony Ferguson, his last win was what? Like Cowboy Cerrone? Like I'm trying to think. Like I think it was Cowboy Cerrone, right? So it's been a while. He's dropped 3 fights in a row. He lost to Oliveira. He lost to Gaethje. It's been a minute. He fought Cowboy Cerrone like a long time ago, and like I don't know if you would hold that up to weight. So I feel for Tony Ferguson because I was like rooting for him, but Michael Chandler, man, just a beast. That was a vicious knockout.
So Tony Ferguson now has 4 losses, and at one point, Dex, like you remember this when I covered one of the UFC cards at Barclays Center. Khabib Nurmagomedov was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson, and Tony Ferguson, what was the story, Shantelle? He like stepped on a fucking step wrong stairs or whatever the fuck, and then twisted his knee and tore his entire knee or whatever. So they tried to make the fight with Khabib several times, and it never happened because Khabib ended up retiring undefeated. But yeah, his last win, Cowboy Cerrone, which was a TKO victory, June of 2019. After that, he fought Justin Gaethje in a fight where a lot of people thought that he would beat Justin Gaethje, and he did have moments, but then Justin Gaethje was able to break him down. Justin Gaethje lost to Charles Oliveira for the title, for the lightweight title this past weekend, but he lost to Justin Gaethje, he lost to Charles Oliveira, who defended his title, and he's on 4 straight losses right now. He doesn't look the same at all. Like earlier in his UFC career, he was being lauded for his stamina.
How old is he now? How old is Ferguson now?
He's almost 40. He's like 37, 38.
Okay, yeah.
But he was being lauded for like just his stamina.
Got put to sleep, man.
Stamina, being well-rounded. And yeah, when you get knocked out like that, it's very difficult to recover. But before that, he was putting like Kevin Lee in a triangle choke and beating Rafael Dos Anjos and Edson Barbosa. He beat him with a Darce choke when people weren't even talking about Darce chokes as being like a thing in that way yet, right? Like, so that, and it sucks because this might be it. But now with Michael Chandler, people are talking about like him potentially fighting Conor McGregor next. And there's the championship, and then there's the Conor McGregor fight. Conor McGregor is kind of like the Undertaker now, where people either want the WWE title or they want to fight the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Like that's who Conor McGregor's become. I would like to see, like, I'm not somebody who, like, look, I think Conor McGregor, like, there's a lot that comes with him. And his last 2 times that we saw him, he lost to Dustin Poirier, both by TKO. The last one was a doctor stoppage in July. He lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov, obviously, not long before that. So he's lost 3 of his last 4. But would I like to see him against Michael Chandler? Michael Chandler, who could do that to Tony Ferguson? Yeah, because somebody's probably going to get knocked out in that fight.
I mean,
100%.
I mean, I want it, and nobody wants to get knocked out like Tony Ferguson. That kick was swift, and
you have a meathead American. You have a meathead American with a loud Irishman who's, it would be like it would be.
You know who I'm rooting for. I don't watch the UFC, but I'm rooting for in that. Brian.
It'll be a clash of cultures. It'll be a clash of cultures that'll be like really fun. The pre-fight hype, Shantelle, you could attest to this, would be insane, and I think that. I think in terms of betting, it would be a close line also because of Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler both having losses recently.
Yeah, that's a bet that I would definitely make, and I don't even know which way I'd go right now. So that would be like a blockbuster. I think a lot of people would want to see that fight. So hopefully we get it. I could see Michael Chandler taking that fight, especially after that knockout and after what he did to Tony Ferguson. Like he tucked him in for a nap. Like Tony Ferguson was out cold. You know what I mean? So that's a fight I definitely be down to see. So I think that was probably the best fight of the night. We knew it was going to be really violent though. The Oliveira fight with Gaethje was obviously really good as well, but that was my favorite because the knockout was nasty.
Oh yeah, that knockout was woo, man. He hit him with that sleep mode. That was crazy.
We might as well finish up with UFC 274 before we get out of here. I want to start with Rose Namajunas because what was that, Shatelle? Like for people who don't know, Rose Namajunas was defending her UFC strawweight title against Carla Esparza. This is a rematch of the first ever UFC strawweight championship match in 2014 for the inaugural championship. At the time, Carla Esparza won that one by submission, and me and Shantelle were on FanDuel talking about how much better Rose Namajunas got. And she's the best strawweight in the world, and she's proven it time and time again. And she only lost to Jessica Andrade because she got slammed in her head after outboxing her, and just shit happens. And then she got the title back, and then she came out and Shantelle, this was weird. The entrance where she kept repeating, "I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best," over and over.
No.
Right? No. Right? That happened, Shantelle. And she's not like that usually. Like, she's almost better when she's timid. And it was just weird from the jump. And then the fight starts and she's mostly shadow boxing. She's not really throwing jabs. She looks good when she's like, moving around and shit. She's getting away from shit. She's not countering with anything. And basically, Dexter was one of the worst title matches you would ever see. The announcers were saying as much. Joe Rogan, John Anik, Daniel Cormier, who were actually very entertaining throughout the fight. And then it was like Carla Esparza ended up winning because she took down Rose a couple times, and that was really it. Nobody had a scratch on her.
It was the worst fight of the night. And like at the end of this, you talked about like Rose coming out with saying like, I'm the best, because if she won that fight, we would have probably been saying she's the best strawweight of all time. And that didn't happen in this fight. And Esparza, we know that she is a really good wrestler. She was able to get Rose onto the ground a couple of times, and that won her the fight. It was a letdown, and I don't have much else to say about it other than that was a terrible fight. Like I had Rose winning by knockout.
I had her double chance by knockout or on points, and neither happened. That that was a fucking lock, and I was like, clearly even FanDuel reposted the tweet that I had today, where they were like, "Oh, they had some sort of meme where it was like, oh, this bet is gonna cash, and then the bet doesn't cash, or whatever the case may be." And I was like, "Yeah, me betting on Rose Namajunas on Saturday," and the homies retweeted it. We already know it's love over there, but like. For me, the interesting part about this is like, I don't know where one, Rose goes from here, but two, I know what I want to see in that division now because there's a clear pathway to UFC 275, Shantelle, where we have Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Zhang Weili in a rematch of the 2020 Fight of the Year. Dexter, you need to watch that fight. It is one of the best fights you're ever going to see. It's probably on YouTube because I think UFC put it up already. That fight was chaotic. I thought Joanna should have won. They gave it to Zhang Weili. They're gonna have a rematch. Joanna's forehead was massive after the fight because of the damage she took, but I still think she won because she was great. Also, one of my favorite interviews that I've had with any UFC fighter was with Joanna, so maybe I'm a little partial. But I think that fight, whoever wins that, is gonna get Carla Esparza next and win.
I mean. That makes sense, right? Rose knocked out Weili in that first fight, and I think she got the decision in the second one, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be a crazy fight, and whoever she gets, like I don't know why I'm not rolling with the Esparza because both those girls are beasts. So it's going to be interesting to see. UFC 275 is stacked, so I don't know, man. That's going to be a good fight. Hopefully we get that one. But that's what happens, and where does Rose go next? Like that's what I want to know from you, Brian. Like where does she go from here? Because if the fight went differently this weekend, if she got the knockout, then we would have been talking about how she's the greatest strawweight of all time. And now it's like the question's up in the air. Like if Esparza wins, what does that mean for Esparza? Like if Esparza keeps on winning, like what does that mean for her?
Well, I can't get the image out of my head. So we mentioned Dexter and put everyone on the screen here because I want to see how you just generally react to this. But
okay, we'll see.
Carla Esparza did win that title against Rose Namajunas.
Mm-hmm.
and she lost her first title defense to Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and she got fucked up. All right,
like real bad.
Like if you love boxing and you appreciate good stand-up fighting, Joanna just absolutely picked her apart. Joanna was a world champion kickboxer before she turned to MMA. And Joanna's just like, I love like her takedown defense is the reason why she's able to stand up and just destroy fighters like that. She she's really one of the best strawweights of all time. Rose beat her twice. Second one a little more debatable, but that's another story for another day. But Rose did beat her twice. And I do think the winner of that would be Carla Esparza because of that. I see Joanna winning this rematch and then beating Carla Esparza again. But I don't know where. I think Rose probably gets the loser of that fight, and then eventually we're just circling back. Like we're sort of recycling the same fights in different ways at the strawweight division because nobody else has been able to break through. Like Michelle Waterson hasn't been able to break through to the top of that division. So.
We shall see how that goes. Anything else we want to touch on? Any other fights we are excited for in the future? I mean, I'm with Shantelle on that Crawford Spence. That's what we need in the game, but we will see if that happens. Any other? Is there a young fighter? It could be UFC, it could be boxing. Shantelle, that you really have your eye on, that you're like, hey, this person's next. They're coming up. Somebody that people out there who are into combat sports should watch.
Well, you mentioned Boots, but we all kind of know about Boots, but I don't think he gets enough love. I think the big fight coming up is like George Kambosos Jr. and Devin Haney.
Yes.
Devin Haney, a lot of people are talking about like he's kind of boring because he's like defensive. You know what I'm saying? He reminds me a lot of Money Mayweather too defensively, like with the shoulder roll D. He's really good. I think that's a fight Devin Haney wins. And to be quite honest with you, like I think Devin Haney is a little bit slept on. People always talk about how he doesn't have the power and they say that he has pillow fists, but the way that he actually boxes, like it's actually beautiful. So that's the fight I'm looking forward to. And I actually have Haney winning that fight. And it's going to be down in Australia. So it's going to be a good fight. Because Teofimo Lopez, like I still can't get over the fact that how he went into that fight and was just looking for the knockout and George Kambosos Jr. just did work. But I don't think that happens against Devin Haney.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I forgot about Teofimo, his preparation or lack, I should say, of their going into that fight and his game plan going into that. So yeah, go ahead, Brian.
And you know what card I'm going to shout out because June 11th here at the MSG Theater, the day before the Puerto Rican Day Parade. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna. And look, we've done work with Edgar Berlanga up here, La Cultura. You can watch it. It's on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
50 whatever thousand views, I don't know at this point. Edgar Berlanga's fighting on that card against Romero Alexis Angulo. But Xander Zayas, that's
yo, thanks for bringing him up because I forgot there was, I don't remember what fight was that, Brian, and you were like, you got to watch it. I hadn't watched him yet, and I was like, texting Brian, was like, oh, okay.
I think it might have been. I don't know if it was Dan Carpenter. Did he win by stoppage or decision? Do you remember?
Stoppage in that fight. I just can't remember his opponent.
It was probably Dan.
It's escaping me right now.
Yeah, it was either Dan Carpenter or Larry Fryer. I'm looking at his box chart. But Xander Zayas right now, for people who don't know, is a Puerto Rican welterweight, super welterweight. He's going to fluctuate.
I was impressed with him.
I think he's going to be at welterweight when he eventually gets to, the title portion of his career and then move up because he is a pretty big kid. He's like 5'10", so he could easily go 147, 154, et cetera, and eventually maybe fill out middleweight. But he is 19 years old, okay? Doesn't turn 20 until later this year.
Crazy.
He's 13-0 with 9 knockouts. He's one of the best prospects in the sport. All right, I need to be careful about how I say this. Given,
where are you going?
Because
where are you going?
No, because smile down. He's the best I've felt about a Puerto Rican boxing prospect since He Who Shall Not Be Named, who is currently in jail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he coming up was very good and then lost a little focus and then lost a lot of other shit not too long after that. So, but Xander Zayas has been the best Puerto Rican prospect since then. Yes, thanks.
I want to ask Shantelle two things before we get her out of here. One was Nico Ali Walsh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So saw his knockout. What was that 2 weekends ago? He had that crazy knockout. Put the boy to sleep. Brian and I, we watched his first couple of fights. I was not really impressed with him. And then somebody who I don't think knows boxing that well, brought him up to me. I think they just saw that knockout. And they're like, man, he's good. He's really good. Like, and I was just like,
you got tagged a lot for somebody like who's
am I bugging? Because I seen him get touched a lot. I'm not that impressed. I was impressed with the knockout. Don't get me wrong, but I haven't been that impressed with him overall. I still think he's got some work to do. What do you say?
I think he got a little bit better in his last fight, but I agree with you guys. Like, he's looking good and he's winning fights, and I think the fact that his name is Ali, we know that he's his grandson. I think that holds a lot of weight in what's going on with how Top Rank promotes him. But right now, like, he's kind of must watch, right? People are watching to see him fight a little bit, and I think he's gotten a little bit better. I definitely need to see more. But going back to quickly to like just to backtrack to go back to Xander Zayas, we talked about Edgar Berlanga, and right now he's being poised as to be the next Puerto Rican boxing superstar, but I think Zayas might be that dude. Because I'm trying to think when the last one was, and I think it was like Miguel Cotto.
Oh yeah,
he was the last biggest one, right? So
well, I'm the guy to go to for that information, and I would probably verify that you are correct, because he who shall not be named had a chance, and that didn't happen. And then Christopher Diaz kept losing in his title shots, and that wasn't going to be the case.
But yeah, we gotta see more from Nico though, for sure. Like, one knockout is just not going to do it for me. Right. He's had a few knockouts, but I think just the fact that, like, I think in his first fight, he wore like Ali's trunks, right?
Yeah.
If we go back, he wore Ali's trunks, and like it was like he's decent. He's gonna get better though. He's gotten better in every fight.
He's definitely gotten better. I'm with you on that. And listen, and maybe you feel me on this too, Shantelle. The Ali name, that brings a lot of hype. It doesn't hurt the sport to have that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't hurt if there's going to be some eyeballs on him and people are going to watch his fights. Hopefully he gets better with that too, but it doesn't hurt the game at all whatsoever. So I'll take that.
Just according to BoxRec real quick, because I looked up just to see who they have ranked or whatever the case would be as a top Puerto Rican pound for pound right now. Subriel Matias, which surprised me a little bit because he's 18-1, but he does have 18-1 with 18 knockouts, first of all. But he did lose a couple years ago. But like, look, he's a legit challenger at super lightweight right now. He's I think 29, 30 years old, so he's getting up there a little bit. So he has to, like, if he's gonna fight for a title, he has to do it very soon. But Xander Zayas, yes, he's the one. I think Edgar Berlanga still has a chance to be, but he needs to get better after his last couple fights because he got.
He needed a knockout. He needed a knockout in his last fight, like, you know what I mean, and like we didn't get that. So I know that it's kind of tough, right, when you have like that many knockouts in a row. Like, what did he have? Like 16.
Yeah,
in a row,
like that. 16.
And then you come out and like we want to see you go the distance, and you go the distance, but like in his last fight that should have been a knockout, and a little bit disappointing. And then Xander Zayas came out and I'm like, that should have been the main event. I was a little bit disappointed, and then I was like thinking, like, when was the last big Puerto Rican superstar that was in boxing? That was Miguel Cotto. So I think Zayas is like on the way. I think everyone's poising Edgar Berlanga to be that dude. But I think Zayas is the better boxer. But Berlanga has, like, he's got like Fat Joe rolling with him. He's got everything that you think a boxer has. Yeah. He's got the flash. He can sell a fight, but I think he has to have like a crazy performance in his next fight, because right now he needs that.
Yeah, and the thing that alarmed me was just not alarmed in a dramatic, overly dramatic way. Was like we saw what Triple G did to Steve Rolls, like whatever 2-3, whatever, however long that was. And then earlier this year, Edgar Berlanga fights Steve Rolls and is losing rounds. And it's a fairly close fight and escapes by decision and doesn't really look impressive. You know what I mean? And before that, we saw him get knocked down for the first time in his career. So it's sort of trending in a similar way. In the ring, I want to stress that, to who I won't name, when he was once a blue chip prospect, winning prospect of the year, and then, started having entertaining bouts with William Silva. And getting dropped by fighters he shouldn't have been dropped by.
Yeah. Don't sleep on my Canadian brother Steve Rolls, though. All right, he's all right. Don't sleep on him, because he did some work against Berlanga. I was surprised, actually. Yeah, I was like, really? I thought he was gonna get knocked out, but good for Steve.
I've seen, Shantelle, you are a big hip hop fan like me too, and you're gonna get me into collecting some hip hop vinyl. Yesterday, Kendrick Lamar dropped The Hard Part 5. I'm assuming everybody here has got to see the video and hear the song.
Yes.
I'm so excited, guys. I can't wait for Friday at midnight. Can't wait. I'm so pumped. Shantelle, what was your reaction to this? Did you get to check this out? What was your reaction?
The video is great. Like Kendrick, the way that he drops, and we know like the Heart series, every time you see the Heart part something, it's going to be absolutely fire. And this one was, man, you talk about some of like the greatest verses that Kendrick has. The last part of it kind of being like a eulogy. Like it was pretty dope. And then the video, like the way Kendrick does things, I can't wait till Friday. We've been waiting for Kendrick to drop an album for a while, so I'm pretty hyped for it.
Yeah, I'm so hyped. I'm gonna say this, excuse me, and it might be kind of crazy, but that video is probably one of the better hip hop videos I've seen in a long time. Like, I don't care too much about videos, but it was so creative, so well done, so with the deep fakes, with the lyrics and everything. Like, yeah, Brian, I know I hit you with it, and it was in the middle of you watching your Miami Heat play, so you didn't get to it till later. Yeah, yo, Shantelle, he be fronting, man. Shantelle, he be fronting.
No.
Because
I don't have.
Shantelle, because you're a Knicks fan, and we didn't like anybody associated with him. You know how we feel about Miami Heat. I see you shaking your head. You know that.
I don't care for Alonzo Mourning, man. I remember.
Neither, but like I like this current team a lot. Okay, Jimmy Butler, probably my favorite player in the league, and is a defiant motherfucker, and I like defiant motherfuckers. As is Eric Spoelstra, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, etc.
Did you like the Hard Part 5?
Yes, very much so. It was Kendrick being Kendrick in a lot of different ways, and also some things I didn't see coming. And I don't want to speak too much on it because you know how layered Kendrick is. Like, we really need to sit with that for a long time. I've only played it 3 times, and that's not enough to really get all the references. And I felt like each of those 3 times I was able to catch more things. We're going to get more into Kendrick's album next week, but I am absolutely looking forward to it because once again, Dexter, we're in a year where hip hop gets off to a slow fucking start because nobody wants to drop early in the year and everybody's scared. And we've had, I don't know, a few good albums this year, potentially, or something along those lines. Like, I think I could form a decent top 5. There are some albums like Denzel Curry's that I love that I've played a lot this year. I really like Vince Staples, and there was something else that came out recently that I liked. I'm trying to remember Pusha T's, though I didn't like it as much as the other 2. I still liked it, but there's not a lot to pull from in terms of this year. And I also probably have to go look at some of the underground shit and some of the London shit because that'll probably round out my top 10 anyway. But I expect Kendrick's album to be talked about next week on our show and later this year when we have our year in review.
We will. I'm excited about it. I think it's great. I love, because I'm Marvin Gaye fan, love the Marvin Gaye sample there. I Want You, which is a great album, great song. For those that don't know, Shantelle, I know you know about that because you went to the old vinyl and classic soul and all that, so it was good. Shantelle, anything else you're looking forward to in hip hop this year? Anything you're looking forward to down the road?
Well, I think there's rumor that Cole's gonna drop again. So I'm looking forward to that. I also like Dave East's album this year. I thought it was pretty solid. That one's been in rotation for me. I love the Vince Staples album.
Me too.
But I think I just wait for like those guys to drop, right? It's like always Kendrick and Cole. Like those are the guys you definitely want to look for every time. So
please do note, people. Our Canadian sister here did not mention Drake at all. Not once. She did not say anything about Drake.
I like Drake, but I think Drake's supposed to drop too, but I'm not always going to it. Like, I haven't really like loved something from Drake since like
ever.
No, I liked So Far Gone. Like, when that came out, you know what I mean? Like,
so long ago. Jesus.
Exactly.
That's a long time ago, though, Shantelle.
That's what I'm saying, but like Drake is good. Like, Drake is like the type of rapper that you put in the car that like everyone can enjoy. Cause it's not like I'm going to be in the car and like listen to Benny and like everyone's going to be like, oh, this is dope. You know what I mean? Benny's
you got to get better friends then if that's the case.
Listen, my Canadian girlfriends all like Drake. You know what I mean? So they all like Drake.
I love this.
All the girls love Drake.
I
don't even dislike Drake necessarily, but like he's just so overrated to me.
I like Drake. I'm just kind of more in the vibe with Shantelle.
Like he's a dude. Like, people do this all the time now, but he drops albums and I'll see, or songs rather, and I'll just see people 8 minutes after it drops just putting the lyrics on Twitter like it's supposed to be fucking
the captions
deep.
On Instagram,
and it's like, yo, this is like it's fine. You know what I mean?
Okay, it's an okay bar. It's not even that. Like, again, I like Drake. There's Drake music I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I'll say, we talked about this on the show before. I just don't think he makes great albums, and so when it comes to that, I prefer artists like Kendrick or Cole, who I think are the two best of this generation. And
yeah,
that's
Kings
no
of
slouch.
Disease 3 might come out this year, Dex.
Who?
Kings of Disease 3 might come out this year.
That might come out this year too. So we'll see. I'm also the fall off Cole, definitely looking forward to. I think that could be coming. So we'll see. It should be an exciting year for hip hop. Shatelle, you have rocked with us longer than even we expected. We thank you. It's been fun. And because I found out you're a Knicks fan now, you got to come rock with me on my NBA show. We're gonna have to link up. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some trips down Knicks misery lane and potential Knicks futures and stuff. We'll
Y'all have a
sure.
very
I dig that. We're gonna have a good
season
time with that because there's a lot of misery, but I think I think they're gonna make some good moves. Hopefully,
y'all have a very important off season coming up.
We do. Shantelle, I'm gonna have to get you on in the off season. We're gonna have to talk about that. That is Shantelle Chand. Chand, right? I almost messed that up again. Almost messed it up there. See,
you got it right. You corrected yourself. That's good.
I corrected myself. I was like, ooh, I corrected myself. Please follow her. Check her out. Her work. You'll see her with Brian a lot on FanDuel. They do a great job with all the combat sports. I enjoy watching you guys when you're on the live stream. So seriously, keep it up. Also check her out on TSN. So for Shantelle and Brian, I'm Dexter Henry. Until next time, y'all. Peace.